Welcome everyone. This is how to memorize the 20 amino acids fast and easy, part 2. And if you haven't yet done so, please watch part 1 of the series. Let's get into it. All right, so in the first video, I also talked about, I went step by step on what an amino acid is composed of. And please check out part 1, so that makes the structure on how I'm drawing the amino acids easier. So please check that one out if you haven't yet done so. Before I get started on the next set of amino acids, I wanted to note or take note on an amino acid that I did explain in part 1 of the series, but I also did see and reviewed the video, and I did see something that may be somewhat confusing. And I did come up with something easier, so I hope this does help you out. So the amino acid that I wanted to point out was alanine. And 3-letter code is ALA, L-A-A, and the 1-letter code is A. So the way we draw it is obviously you put the OH, your double bond O, and then your amino group comes out. So now, obviously that comes out, right? The methyl group. So you draw your methyl. Don't forget to put your H's, right? As so. And I'm going to emphasize something right here real quick. So once I zoom in here is the methyl group right here. I'm going to do something where, okay, so I'm going to emphasize this H right here. And then I'm going to do a little dash marks in between the H's. All right, so the reason why I did this is because now when you look at this methyl group here, it almost resembles like an alanine, right? When you draw the 3-letter, or when you write down the 3-letter code of alanine. So the way I see it is this one right here is your middle H connected to the C carbon right here, and that's how I memorize it. You know, that's another great way of analyzing it and also memorizing it fast, just by looking at this. The alanine, the 3-letter code to alanine. It's ALA, so A-L-A. And just kind of draw the marks the way I did it here on the H. So now we're going to do the easy config. And this is how it's going to look. So you draw it like this, your amino group, and then your double bond O, which is your carboxyl, then your alcohol, and then, so here we go. You draw your methyl group, and then you emphasize on the middle H, right? And you just draw your little dashes, and there you go. That's alanine right there. The 3-letter code is A-L-A, and the 1-letter code is A. So there you go, guys. That is the amino acid I wanted to point out from the previous video. And yeah, all right. So now we're going to talk about the next set of amino acids I wanted to talk to you guys about. And it's called the amino acids, which are 5 of them, with electrically charged, that's plus or minus, side chains. So there we go. This is what we're going to talk about in part 2 of the video. The first one we're going to look at are positive charges. So there's 3 positive charges that we're going to look at. Positive charge side chains. And as mentioned, there are 3 of them. And we're going to start with our first one. And the first amino acid is arginine. So this is how it's spelled. This is the 3-letter code. Well, this is the 1-letter code. There we go. Wanted to draw that a little bit more clear. Okay, so here we go. This is how arginine is drawn structurally. And for OH sticking out, O, and H2. Okay, so this is how you draw your side chain. 3 carbons, 1, 2, 3, and then make sure you draw your amino group sticking out with 1H, and then you draw your other NH with a double bond, NH2, and then you draw the other NH2 right here. So the way this is drawn, on the double bond amino group, you draw a plus sign, always on the double bond NH2. Now, that's how arginine is drawn. So the way I like to think about this is, when I think of arginine, I also think about a wheel. This is how I imagine it. So kind of like this. This is how I imagine it to look like. Now, also, it's kind of, now, when you think of arginine, another point I want to make is arginine kind of almost, if you think about the 3-letter code to arginine, it almost sounds like a strong engine. So I want to point that out. So it's like a strong engine, car moving fast, and it's like a race car. When you go to the Grand Prix or you go to a race car show, that's how I think of this amino acid. Now we're going to draw the easy config. And this is how it's drawn. So you draw that, your amino group, your double bond O, and then your alcohol, and then you draw the 3 carbons, and then make sure you draw your amino on the third last carbon, and then you draw a double bond NH2, and then you draw another NH2, and on the double bond NH2, make sure you put your plus sign, and then you draw your car, kind of your wheel. I call this the wheel. But that's how I memorize arginine. And yeah, all right, so let's go to the next one. Okay, let's do histidine now. Okay. Histidine is spelled like this. The 3-letter code is HIS, and the 1-letter code is H. Okay, so now we're gonna draw it like this. This is how histidine is drawn. Double bond O, your carboxyl group, your amino group. So now here, the way it's going to be drawn is 2 carbons, and make sure you draw your home plate. All right, so NH, like that, double bond. There we go. Okay, so that is how histidine is drawn. Now, I also want to point out that histidine, I always think of histidine as a house. Yes, in the previous part 1 of the video, if you haven't yet seen it, I also drew a compound, an amino acid that looked like the home plate, but that one is totally different. This one, it's the way I memorize histidine is his home via the 3-letter code. And let's draw the easy config to this. Okay. So double bond O, your hydroxyl group, amino group. Okay, 2 and then 2 carbons. Sure, this is the double bond. Oops. And then double bond. There's that. Your NH. There we go. So now, you may be also telling yourself, okay, how is it that this structure right here, how is histidine a positive? Well, how is it a positive charge? Well, we also have to remember that this structure right here is an imidodiazole, spelled as so. It's an imidodiazole ring, which means this is a proton acceptor. Proton acceptor. Therefore, proton acceptors are also considered as a positive charge. That's something to remember in your exams, when you're drawing this out, when they ask you questions about this structure, or when histidine has come up in other chapters within the biochem, any other subject that's an amino acid. Think about the imidodiazole ring or the histidine amino acid as an imidodiazole ring, as a proton acceptor via, therefore, a positive charge. So there you go, guys. Now let's go to the next and the third last positive charge of this section of the video. And we're going to go over lysine. 3-letter code LYS, and the 1-letter code is K. The way it's drawn, double bond O, your alcohol, amino group. Okay, now, the way I draw lysine is 4 carbons. All right, so there we go. And on the last attachment is going to be your amino group. Make sure you positively charge that. And the way I memorize lysine structure is numbering them, numbering your carbons. And then lice almost sounds like let's. And then you put kiss because there's kiss. There's how many letters in kiss? 4 in this, right? So that's why I put 4. That's why I numbered the carbons 4, and you have your last one as a kiss, which is your amino group. And when you get kissed, you feel positive. So that's how I remember it. All right, guys. So now let's do the easy config to this structure. Your alcohol, your carboxyl group, your amino group. Okay, now we're going to do the 4, and then your last one's going to be your NH3 plus. All right, guys, that's how you draw lysine. Number your carbons so you remember how to draw the lysine amino acid structure. And that's how that's drawn. Okay, guys. So now, last but not least, we're going to talk about the negative charges. The negative charged amino acids. And there's 2 of them. Only 2 that you got to remember. So now the 2 amino acids the 2 amino acids we're going to talk about is there we go. I made a mistake there. Negative. Okay, so the first negative charge we're going to talk about is aspartic acid. That's spelled with a 3-letter code ASP, and the 1-letter code is D. All right. Now for these 2, I'm not going to draw the easy config. And I'm going to tell you why. And as you follow along, it's going to be so much easier to not draw it in this form. So let's draw aspartic acid structure. So you have your alcohol, carboxyl, your NH2, your amino group, and then you're going to draw 2 carbons. And then you're going to make the double bond O. And then you're going to draw it like this. That's a negative charge. And then make sure that it's upside down like this. And the way I memorize aspartic acid is making this dashed line right there, because that kind of looks like an A, right? Upside down A. And then draw it an upside down A, and then you're going to draw it like this. Kind of resembles like that. An O minus. I'm just drawing it, figuratively, so you know what I'm talking about. But that's how I draw aspartic acid. And upside down is probably if you draw it like this and write upside down, you'll memorize aspartic acid very easily, because D is down, upside down, while you have this as your one letter code for aspartic acid when drawn out. Okay, guys, so that's how I draw aspartic acid. Now we're going to do the last one, the last negative charge. And it's called glutamic acid. This is probably one of my favorite ones to draw. Okay, so that's glutamic acid. GLU, the 3-letter code, and E is the 1-letter code. Now this one is pretty unique in my opinion, but here we go. Remember this word, glue. Glue, what you use to glue together wood, you glue together whatever you want to stick onto something, glue, right? Okay, so now let's start drawing the structure. You have your alcohol, your double bond O, and then you have your NH2, and then you draw 3 carbons. And make sure when you draw your 3 carbons, the double bond faces up and not down. Make sure that's the negative charge. And here we go. This is how I memorize glutamic acid. So these O's right here, kind of the way I remember is glue, right? Glow, glue. Well, that's how I think about glutamic acid when you think about these two O's facing up, and yeah, glue, glow, glue, glow. I don't know. That's how I memorized it. All right, guys, that is glutamic acid, and that's how I would draw the structure to that. And we did 5 amino acids all together in this part. I do have another part coming up. I hope this was helpful. Please comment down below, subscribe, and yeah, catch you guys on the next one. And hope this was helpful.